Hello, Emric here. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Agorapulse. I am speaking to you out of Paris, France. It is already dark here, and I am super thrilled today to have Neil Patel joining me. Today, we want to talk about measuring social media. And it's obviously a passion of mine. I've been in the social media tooling space for more than 10 years. And I know it's also a passion of yours and, measuring because you're a marketer. And if you're a marketer in 2021, measuring is all that counts. And measuring social media because it's so challenging, is so diverse and dispersed is an even more challenging and interesting topic as a consequence. I'd like to start asking you about how people have measured social media in the last 10 years, and what do you feel has been vanity? Like, where would you put the vanity, the ugly V word, when it
Yeah.
comes to measuring stuff in marketing? How would you describe that and talk about that?
So this has always been a hot topic for me. And the reason it's been a hot topic for me is over the years, people would be like, oh, we created this cool organic social post and check this out. It makes Campbell's soup look really cool. We got all these likes and comments and engagement. And historically, that is how people measure social media. And honestly, from what we see, that's the majority of the companies and how they're measuring social media today. And I'm not saying engagement is useless. I'm a big believer in branding, the rule of seven. When someone sees or interacts with your brand 7 times, they're much more likely to evangelize, become a customer, tell other people about it. But in reality, why can't you see when you post organically what's driving the ROI? When you leave a comment helping someone out, what's the ROI? And you can. And if you think about the solutions you guys have created and what you guys are doing, this is all trackable. When you post, yes, there's some brand value. And with social media marketing, you should take some of the budget and say, all right, here's a ROI that's not necessarily measurable, but why not also have a measurable component and say, here is the ROI that you're getting there as well? Because people like you guys already have the tools that enable people to do this. It's just companies don't do it. And it's not really any work, right? You can respond to comments, you can post within your guys' solution, track it, and it connects with GA and just tells people, here's your ROI. It literally is that simple. And I don't understand why companies don't do it.
Let me challenge you a little bit on that. You say you don't understand why company don't do it and don't track ROI. I do think you have some ideas about why they don't do it. If you think about it for a minute, why do you think company are not doing it? What's preventing them from doing it?
Well, a lot of quote unquote social media managers don't want a number on their head, right? If you're in performance marketing, if you're in SEO, if you're in paid advertising, whether it's paid on social or paid on Google, you spend $1, you better know that you're making more than $1. And even if you're making more than $1, you better be bringing in profit. Companies expect that. In social media management, most people don't have numbers on their head. A lot of people want to be artistic and creative, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they should be, because that allows you to create amazing content. But that doesn't mean there shouldn't be a number on your head. It doesn't mean that the number on your head has to be profitable either, because there is some brand value that you are creating from social media, and you have to do it. Everyone else is as well. So I'm not saying that if you spend $1, you have to make more than $1 back. But some of the social efforts are trackable. Actually, most of them are trackable. And companies should be doing that, because then you can see, all right, yes, there's this inherent brand value that we're getting and everyone else is doing. So we're putting budget. But there's also this ROI that we're getting, so we can increase that budget. But more so, the social media managers aren't trying to think about, oh, there's an ROI and I can get more budget. They're more so thinking, I don't want a number on my head and I don't want KPIs, and my job is chill and I'd rather keep it that way.
Ah, that's interesting. I can definitely see something like that. I also think that they are the ones who would like to be that measured marketer and KPI person, but cannot because they don't know how to, and because they face technical challenges, or the way you can technically do it is too difficult, and it is difficult. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, people do say it's difficult or they don't want to put in the time. You know, for example, if you had to create all these UTM codes manually for every single link and shorten them up, and whether it's for a comment or a post, it gets tedious. A lot of people don't want to do that. But there's solutions like what you guys have created that do it automatically, and it's not really any work for them. So there isn't an excuse. They just have to use the tools that are out there at their, you know, that anyone can access to make their lives easier. And it's up to them if they want to do it. And the big thing that I would tell them is don't look at it as there's a number on my head, or that, you know, this is a little bit more work, because in reality, it isn't much more work as long as you're using the right tools. It's more so, hey, this is going to give me an opportunity to shine in social media marketing, or shine as an agency and help get more budget for this, and have more advocates within a corporation saying we should do more social media marketing.
When it comes to, you mentioned UTMs, and I that's the one thing I've learned about tracking marketing and tracking attributions with marketing. It all starts with the link that you can track, and there's an old technology that allows that, called UTM, that most of the people watching or listening to this probably know about. I have to tell you, I want to know how you feel about that, and how you've experienced that. But for us as a company wanting to track our efforts with email marketing, with social as well, and with influencer marketing, with blog, having guest posts on our blogs, all the stuff we do marketing wise, using UTMs has always been a real challenge, because keeping track of the naming, getting the naming right, because if you put a capital or a non-capital, if you do Facebook FB ads and you do F capital and the rest not capital, or FB capital, it is not the same UTM. So you end up with a mess of UTMs, and we had to create huge, humongous spreadsheets with all the different UTMs and train our marketers and say, well, be careful. These are the UTMs you got to use when you do this, when you do that. And oh my God, this was painful. What was your experience with that?
So first off, with UTMs, we're seeing companies, a lot of cases, using them in the wrong way, in which they're using it for their own internal links on their website. UTMs are meant for external traffic sources. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, those are all examples of external traffic sources going to your website. Now, when it comes to managing UTMs, you're spot on. It's a pain. People often create either one too many UTMs, and if they create the UTMs, a lot of times they don't have the goal tracking set in place in Google Analytics to actually complete the whole funnel to figure out what is actually driving the conversion. So you need to make sure that you're doing both correctly. And then it's just aspect of managing it. You don't want to create too many UTMs if you don't need to, but you can for each and every single campaign out there. And again, ideally, if you're using the correct tools, it'll help manage them all for you. So this isn't really an issue anymore. Well, it used to be an issue 5, 6 years ago, or even 3, 4 years ago, right? But now there's a lot of tools, and these tools are being created for all channels, like what you guys are doing for social. So it's becoming easier for companies where they don't really need Excel spreadsheets. And I know what you're talking about, because I literally used to have Excel spreadsheets for each and every single UTM. And what people don't realize, like you said with the uppercase, sometimes my team members would do the UTMs for other similar campaigns and use the same UTM codes, but change the capitalizations by accident, and it would create issues. And then the data would already start coming. And at that point, it was too late. And it's like, oh, crap, right? So then you would have multiple UTMs that you didn't really need in your spreadsheets as well.
Yeah, that totally resonates. You mentioned people not having goals or Google Analytics set up right. Is this when you take on a client who, obviously, I suppose you want to be fully marketing measured with Where do you start with GA? Like, what do you look at, and what's your first piece of advice, and your first, what do you audit, and what do you advise them to do when it comes to Google Analytics setup?
Sure. So the first is I look to see if they're using Google Analytics 4.0, because especially if you're doing stuff related to apps, you want to make sure the users are all tied together. So you need 4.0, and you'll still be shocked on how many companies that have apps don't leverage it. The second thing that we look at is, are all the goals tracking correctly, all the conversion points, not just at the bottom of the funnel, but top of funnel, middle of the funnel. Do they have the right attributions, first touch, last touch? Then we also start looking at how accurate is it? Are the goals actually firing off accurately when it comes to ads or test conversions? Because then once it is, then we can start scaling it up. And then we also start looking to see if they have tons of junk data. You'll be shocked on how much bot traffic websites have that isn't blocked off. And you'd be making sure that you're going through that and just blocking off, quote unquote, fake or junk traffic as well. So that way you can get much more accurate and better numbers.
Going back to the measuring social and proving the value of social, which is my pet peeve and my obsession, has been my obsession for the last 10 years. Do you have examples of businesses, and that can include yours, that's okay, that have been doing interesting things, innovative, creative, or efficient things in that field, like measuring social and proving the value of social?
Yeah, so what we do that's a little bit interesting, and a few others do it, like Russell Benson from ClickFunnels does it. We start looking at social, whether it's ads or organic, tracking it full funnel. So here's what I mean by that. If you get someone to come to your website from an organic social post and they register for a webinar, okay, a lot of times the person ends up converting, and then you'll be like, oh, they converted from a webinar, but where they come from? Or what we found in our business at NP Digital, we'll get a ton of emails collected from social media. Literally, we're collecting around 250 to 300 a day, 7 days a week, right? The reason I say 250 to 300 is on the weekends, it tends to be lower. Sometimes during holidays, it can even go down to around 200 emails a day from social. And then on a good day, around 300. And when we look at the number of emails collected, we will internally look at, all right, what were the sources of these emails? And then 30 days later, 60 days later, even a year later, when they convert, we know where that person first came from. Because in our industry, a lot of our clients, yeah, we have SMBs that'll pay us in the thousands of dollars per month, but we also have large corporations that spend millions of dollars a month with us. So when you think about it from that aspect, the bigger customers have a much longer sales cycle, and we like to know where we first found people from. And I think that's very important with social media, because it's about building a relationship. You don't always get instant gratification. In essence, you're not getting conversions right away when you want, but you're building that rapport, that relationship with people. And if you can track that for the life cycle of that lead or that customer, you can then pinpoint where you first got them from.
So what you're saying is you're favoring first touch instead of last touch when you're setting up your tracking, right?
We do look at both last touch and first touch. We don't necessarily favor last touch more than first touch. We look at it as what traffic sources are bringing people in and what messaging causes them to convert. Because a lot of the revenue that we face, at least in B2B, and we even see this in B2C, it's first touch doesn't convert when people expect it to. Everyone thinks that you're going to get the conversion within the first day or first week or first 30 days. We see that you can continue to drive revenue from that user a year later, 2 years later. Sometimes it takes a year for them to even close. But if you don't look at first touch, you won't know where to spend a lot of your marketing dollars. And this is really important because marketing costs are rising. Google ads continually more expensive. Facebook ads more expensive. Social media organic reach, it's harder to get there, right? And get the reach that you used to get. Sure, some social networks like LinkedIn, TikTok, they're doing really well right now. But Instagram, not doing as well as it used to a few years ago. Facebook, definitely not doing well for many, many years, and it keeps getting worse. If you, though, keep all this in mind, not only can you get a better understanding of ROI, but you'll understand where you should build out your marketing teams and where you should have your company spend more time or resources. Or if you're an agency, it helps you dictate to the client, hey, this is what's driving results. It may take 6 months to a year, but that's where you're getting the revenue in the long run. We need to double down now so you can start seeing the numbers later on and start hitting your quarterly numbers or your goals or your annual revenue numbers.
You mentioned something earlier that struck a chord. It was that when you measure social media, you are not going to measure everything, because a lot of things are going to happen anyway organically that you cannot measure. Like, people watch a video on YouTube and they don't necessarily take action immediately, but that video resonated with them and it made you be more credible. And then, a couple days later, they do a search, they find you, they remember that video, and they connect the two and they buy your product, and you can't measure that. So there are things we do when we're marketers that are not measurable or trackable. I know a lot of people have been talking about the dark social thing, but you said that there are things you can track, and if you can track, you should track them. So when you look at the trackable versus untrackable, the visible versus invisible, let's say you put tracking in place and you attribute $2,000 or $3,000 of revenue to social. That probably means that you did generate a lot more. That is not trackable. What is your view on that, and how do you rationalize this? Okay, I know I can't track everything. I just need to track up to that level, so I feel that what I'm doing is worth it. I don't know if that makes sense.
I look at it is you can track everything, as you mentioned. You let people know. So if you're an agency working with a customer, you let them know, and you show them what is trackable, and you're like, look, here's all the goodwill you created that is not trackable. People saying wonderful things about your company, their friends seeing it. This creates a long-term residual effect. And the example I like telling people is, if you had to buy shoes, or sports shoe, soccer shoe, what brand would you buy today?
Oh, if I had to buy shoes, I would buy the Adidas brand, because I've been buying them and wearing them, and I like the way they look. And I don't know, I must have some emotional connection to the brand.
Okay, car. If you wanted to buy a car, what car would you buy today?
Oh, I'd buy a Tesla, because I'm a geek and I love electric cars.
All right. And if you wanted a credit card, which company would you go to get a credit card?
Oh my God, that's a tough question. I'll take the credit card that's linked to my the miles with my favorite airline, so I can travel for free when I spend a lot of money.
If you're gonna fly, what airline is your favorite airline?
Yeah, that's an easy one. I'll take the Air France, because that's the one that's going to take me to the most places I want to go kite surf to. And when you live in France, Air France is the one that the most destination.
So which of these things that you mentioned, if you were to buy them, did you Google for any of them, like search for them, like best reviews? No. Did you go double check on their social profiles of all the competitors before you picked your choices? No. It's brand awareness. Just like how Nike, Air France, Adidas, everyone has tons of commercials, tons of athletes that may be sponsoring, or celebrities. The point I'm trying to make is social media, when you present it to customers like that and companies, getting them to understand that the goodwill you're creating when you post is creating the same effect, right? When other people post about their Teslas, or how Tesla has Christmas songs, right? And you can do hacks in the Tesla, or people have amazing experience on Air France and they post about it on social media. It creates goodwill and it creates more customers in the long run, but you have to invest in building a brand. Doesn't mean you can't track everything, right? It means, or you shouldn't track everything. It means track what you can, and the goodwill is a bonus. And it doesn't have to be profitable, but just know directionally everything is getting better.
So it's basically finding the right balance between building your brand long term and getting immediate trackable result short term, and make sure that your expectations on both sides are reasonable and are well balanced.
Bingo. Like if you're posting tons of content on social and no one ever clicks the link and no one ever engages, you know that the brand value is little to nothing. But on the flip side, if you keep getting more followers, more engagement, more likes, more shares, people leaving amazing comments, talking wonderful things about the brand, and you're generating some revenue, you know it's working because all the signals are moving in the right direction.
Cool. Let's get to the conclusion here. I I would like so I did show you, we have that social media ROI report coming up as a beta right now, and it's very early. I don't know when people will be listening or watching this, but we're December 8th, and we have that project that's designed to help social media professionals track what the short-term version
Yep.
of what needs to be tracked. You saw that we basically help you see the revenue and the conversions and the traffic that you're generating with your organic social. Is there anything else that you think we should be doing to help social media professionals prove the value of their work and demonstrate that to their boss or their clients?
No, I think that is one of the best things that I've seen in a very long time. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm honestly telling you that because I wish everyone did this, and I don't understand why other people haven't released this. It makes lives easier for agency owner because you'll get better retention. It makes life easier for marketing managers or people who are internal because it gives you a reason to get more budget and more people on your team. So I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Of course, my ego is blessed right now, and our ego as a company is blessed. We do think that it's going to be helpful, and that's the mission and the vision for this company that I co-founded. That we really want to be helpful for the market we're serving and the community we're serving, which are people who are working on social media. And if anyone listening or watching this is interested in getting involved in the beta and giving it a try and giving it a go and giving us feedback, please reach out to me wherever this is being displayed, in the comment, as a retweet, on LinkedIn. Reach out to me via email. My email is emeric@agorapulse.com. Very easy to get a hold of me. And Neil, it's been amazing to spend 25 minutes with you. Given the time I've been following you and admiring your work, I'm super happy we've had this time together.
I'm humbled, and it was my honor to be here.
Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon in real life when COVID is gone and we can all travel and have fun together again.
That's right.
Cool, thanks.